Hello everyone, welcome back to class. This lecture is to summarize our second week 2's learning. Today we learned about historical and current perspectives of family involvement. By reading this chapter, you can outline major historical efforts that promoted families' involvement in their child's education, describe current perspectives and models of parental involvement, define parents' involvement mechanisms and barriers to school involvement, and describe profiles of families unique to those with children with special needs. Now we will talk about the historical treatment of individuals with disability and the history of family involvement in education. Family involvement in education is relatively new stuff. In 1950s, the civil rights movement highlighted the need to protect children's rights to education, and it actually ended the discriminatory practice in schools. And the federal government actually mandated parents' involvement in education to ensure that children's advocates had a say in their education. Examining various historical attitudes and practices provides an overview of the treatment of individuals with disability in educational systems and explains why family involvement is necessary. Fortunately, school systems have moved from excluding children with disability in education to including them, and school practices have become more collaborative. Let's take a look at philosophical influence on this movement. In the 17th and 18th centuries, philosophers such as John Locke and Rousseau brought important implication to the field of special education. Locke, for example, with his religious belief, said children develop intellectual and social skill by practicing, and the role of parents was to fashion children aright, to keep them from evil, and to encourage appropriate behavior early in their lives. Rousseau believed that children should be allowed to develop without interference from adults, and children are not adults' miniatures. He believed that the purpose of education is to support the innate nature and growth of children. With them, education was viewed as a means to promote human happiness and facilitate children's natural development at school and at home. These early philosophers have provided a foundation for the work of Piaget, Montessori, Dewey, and Vygotsky. Now, inclusion is very important practice in school, and for children's successful inclusive learning, caregivers and parents have been advocates for their children through different national or private organizations. And former President Kennedy and his family founded the Special Olympics in 1968 to highlight the abilities and value of individuals with disability. Family involvement in education changed as school systems evolved from private institutions to public institutions. In the 20th century, as a number of public schools increased in the nation, family and school relationship changed. Schools began to distance themselves from parents, and teachers believed they had specialized knowledge that parents did not have, and that parents were not qualified to determine curriculum or instruction. By the 1950s, teachers typically held the view that they were the educators and parents should support their effort. And about the laws, the expectation for parents' involvement changed during the 1960s when the U.S. Congress passed the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965, reauthorized as the No Child Left Behind Act in 2002, which is now called Every Student Succeed Act, ESA, since 2015. This law actually mandate parental involvement in schools. Let's move on to current perspectives of family involvement. Recent researchers reported that when parents are involved with school, students perform better academically or behaviorally. So the benefits of parents or caregiver involvement in school are optimized when caregiver and schools work together. Although the most academic learning takes place at school, home and school should not be perceived as separate spheres of influence. There are some overlapping, right? So, overlapping spheres of influence support the idea that what happens at home can have an effect or influence on school performance. In this line of thinking, friends, close friends, or community, their influence are critical and also they are direct ecologies of a child. And as you can see in the table 2.2 in page 31, Epstein developed a model of parents' involvement that described different types of parents' involvement. Types of parents' involvement are parenting, communicating, volunteering, learning at home, decision making, and collaborating with the community. And your textbook explains that when parents or caregivers perceive that they have the resources, such as time, energy, or knowledge, to become involved in their child's education, they support education in different ways. First, through modeling. Parents model school related behaviors that help their children learn to value education. Second, through reinforcement. Parents' reinforcement of academic behavior motivates their children to expand effort to learn. Third, through direct instruction. Parents' instruction at home helps students advance academically. Each family may face different challenges for family involvement in school. Parents or caregivers of children with disabilities are often affected by financial stress, social stigmatization, and psychological stress, which may influence their ability to participate in their child's education.